Hi Nana. Hi. Today we are going to learn about the hydrogen chloride gas, the remaining part. Okay, right. So in it, there is a question. What is that? Why why can calcium oxide and phosphorus pentoxide why cannot be used? Why we cannot use calcium oxide and phosphorus pentoxide? Okay, for as a drying agents in HCl gas preparation. Okay, see in the preparation of HCl gas, calcium oxide or calcium oxide and phosphorus pentoxide. So they cannot be used as drying agents. Why? See, if you see calcium oxide, calcium oxide is also called as quicklime, quicklime. So actually, it is basic in nature. It is basic in nature. So what happens? As it is basic in nature, base, it can react with acid, HCl. HCl is an acidic gas. So here reaction takes place between these two and forms calcium chloride, a salt, and water is released and water is formed. Okay, so as calcium oxide uh, chemically reacts with HCl gas, okay, to form calcium chloride, Hence, this calcium oxide cannot be used as a drying agent. So it cannot be used as drying agent. So this cannot be used as a drying agent. Okay, in the preparation of HCl gas. Because generally, what is the purpose of drying agent? Drying agent should not react with the substances and it should remove the moisture. But here, calcium oxide, it can remove the moisture, but at the same time, it will react with this HCl. Then the HCl, which is formed during the laboratory process, it is again converted into calcium chloride. Then what is the purpose of uh, doing this experiment, or else what is the purpose of preparation of HCl gas? Because the prepared HCl gas is finally converted into calcium chloride upon reaction with the calcium oxide when this calcium oxide is used as reducing agent. Hence, in this case, uh, for the preparation of HCl gas as a drying agent, we cannot use calcium oxide. Calcium oxide cannot be used as drying agent because this particular calcium oxide will react with HCl. Right. Next, even phosphorus pentoxide also. So this phosphorus pentoxide, okay, this will react with HCl. Even reaction takes place between the HCl gas and phosphorus pentoxide and forms phosphorus oxychloride and metaphosphoric acid. Okay, it forms phosphorus oxychloride and metaphosphoric acid. So this is the reaction. Phosphorus phosphorus oxychloride and metaphosphoric acid. So this is called as metaphosphoric acid. So important name, metaphosphoric acid. This is phosphorus oxychloride. Okay, right. So that means even this phosphorus pentoxide also cannot be used as a drying agent uh, in the preparation of HCl gas because even this also will react with dry HCl gas. Uh, okay, chemically it will react, hence it cannot be used. Okay, like this. Okay, did you understand? So why these two are uh, cannot be used as a drying agents? Because they chemically react with the HCl to form different products. So finally, all the HCl which is formed during the process of during the preparation of HCl, so it is converted into some other substances. Hence, we should not use these materials as drying agents. Right now. Now we will learn the precautions during the process of preparation of HCl gas in the laboratory method. What are the precautions to be taken during the preparation of HCl gas by laboratory method? Okay. Okay. So precautions to be taken in the laboratory method of preparation of HCl gas. Okay. So first of all, the apparatus which we use, okay, maybe it is round bottom flask, or else maybe it is conical flask, or else maybe it is gas jar. Okay, all these things, they should be in perfectly dry conditions. Okay, so they should even the thistle funnel. Okay, even the thistle funnel, or else delivery tube. Okay, even delivery tubes. Okay, the delivery tubes are also should be in a perfectly dry conditions. Okay, first point is the apparatus. So the apparatus means all the things which we use, all the instruments which we use for the preparation of HCl gas, they come under apparatus. Okay, the apparatus should be perfectly dry. It should be perfectly dry. That means there should not be any moisture. There should not be any moisture as the HCl gas is highly soluble. Because of its highly soluble in nature, okay, as it is highly soluble, okay, in the moisture, as it is highly soluble in the moisture, hence there should not be any moisture. That means the apparatus should be perfectly dry. Okay, moisture means water. Okay, so there should not be any water, or else there should not be any moisture in this apparatus. So if there is any moisture, what happens? The HCl gas which is formed, it is absorbed by this moisture itself. Then we cannot collect the HCl gas. As it is absorbed by the moisture, then we cannot collect the HCl gas. So our purpose of collection of HCl gas, it won't be solved. So that is why, in order to collect the HCl gas, we have to prevent the presence of moisture in the apparatus. Hence, apparatus should be perfectly dry. Okay. Next one, the lower end of the thistle funnel. See, this is thistle funnel. This is called as thistle funnel. So this is upper end and this is lower end. The lower end of the Thiesel funnel, it should be dipped in the acid. Okay. Okay. Should be the lower end of the Thiesel funnel should be dipped. It should be dipped in the acid. In the acid. Why it should be dipped in the acid? Why it should be dipped? Because here during this process HCl gas is formed. HCl gas is formed. Suppose if this is not dipped in the acid, suppose if it is not dipped in the acid, what happens? This HCl gas vapors, the HCl gas, it will escape through the Thiesel funnel and it will enter into the atmosphere. HCl gas will enter into the atmosphere, so that it may be very dangerous. So in order to avoid the entry of this HCl gas into the atmosphere, so this Thiesel funnel should be dipped. It should be dipped into the acid, so that here the gas is liberated, and the liberated gas, it cannot enter into this Thiesel funnel and cannot reach to the atmosphere, outer atmosphere. Okay, so like this. In order to prevent the danger of entry of this HCl gas into the atmosphere, we have to dip the Thiesel funnel into the acid. And third point is, we should not heat the reaction mixture above 200. So as we are heating, so this reaction mixture, actually it is having what? Rock salt and sodium, rock salt and concentrated sulfuric acid. The mixture of rock salt and concentrated sulfuric acid. So that mixture should be heated below 200 degrees centigrade only. Okay. So, yeah, I mean here that is also one of the precautions. So do not heat the reaction mixture above 200 degrees centigrade. Do not heat the reaction mixture above 200 degrees centigrade. Okay. Why it should not be heated above 200 degrees centigrade? Do not heat, because if you heat above 200 degrees centigrade, then sodium sulfate is formed as one of the product along with the HCl. Along with the HCl gas, sodium sulfate is formed. So this sodium sulfate will damage the apparatus. The sodium sulfate which is formed during this process, it will stick on as a layer and it will fuse into the glass material, so that the glass material will become heat resistant. This glass material will become heat resistant and it will become opaque. We cannot see what is the material. If you pour something into this one, we cannot see. It won't be transparent now. It will become opaque and also it will become heat resistant. So I mean, after the formation of sodium sulfate, what happens? Even if you heat it, the mixture present inside the this round bottom flask cannot receive the heat. Okay, it cannot receive the heat, so that the reaction does not take place. Further reaction does not take place. And moreover, this apparatus gets damaged, and this apparatus cannot be used further in the next experiment. Okay, so that is why, in order to avoid the formation of sodium sulfate, we have to heat the reaction mixture below 200 degrees centigrade. Okay, right. Next one. Do not bring a glass rod dipped in the ammonia solution inside the gas jar. See, do not dip the glass rod. Okay, do not bring the glass rod. Do not bring the glass rod which is dipped in ammonia solution. Okay, into the gas jar. Into the gas jar. See, suppose if this is a gas jar containing HCl gas, HCl gas is present in this gas jar. So in order to test whether the given gas is HCl or not, what will we do? Simply we will bring the glass rod which is dipped in ammonia solution. Initially we will dip this glass rod in ammonia solution. Suppose this is ammonia solution. This is ammonia solution. What we will do? We will dip a glass rod in ammonia solution. Okay, that glass rod will bring near the mouth of this gas jar. This is gas jar. Okay, gas jar containing containing HCl gas. Okay, so this glass rod, glass rod. So here we have to bring this glass rod to the mouth of the test tube. So we should not dip this glass rod. So we have to avoid this. So this is correct. Because if you bring this glass rod into the gas jar, what happened? So entire HCl will convert into ammonium chloride. So HCl gas will convert into ammonium chloride. This HCl gas will convert into ammonium chloride. So in order to avoid the conversion of this entire HCl gas into ammonium chloride, so we should not bring this glass rod which is dipped in ammonia solution into the gas jar. We should not keep. So we have to keep like this. This is the correct method. Okay, this is the correct method. Simply bring it towards the mouth of this gas jar, but don't bring the glass rod and dip into the uh, gas jar. Don't put in the gas jar. Into the gas jar. Okay, or else inside the gas jar. Inside the gas jar. Don't bring inside the gas jar. Just and the next precaution is uh, always prepare the gas, HCl gas. Okay, always prepare the HCl gas in a fume cupboard. See, actually, suppose this is the preparation method, so we have to prepare this. We have to do this experiment in a cupboard, so that the fumes which are formed inside this, so they cannot escape into the open air. Okay, there will be some outlet, so only through that outlet only. So this will be the any gas, if it is leaked, it will escape out. Okay, so that means we have to use, this is called as a cupboard. Okay, fume cupboard. So inside the fume cupboard only we have to prepare the HCl gas. Okay, in order to avoid the leakage of HCl gas into the atmosphere. Okay, right. Next precaution is, suppose if a person inhales this HCl gas by mistake. So HCl gas, see HCl gas we should not, because as it is acidic gas, so we should not inhale or else we should not breathe in this HCl gas. Suppose by mistake, if any person or else if any person inhales the gas, so what we have to do? So we have to suppose if a person accidentally inhales the HCl gas, okay, so what we have to do? Simply this person make this person to smell, make this person. So initially if this person has inhaled the HCl gas, so in order to neutralize, because this is an acid, so it shows its effect. So in order to prevent the effect of this HCl gas, this person should smell 1% ammonia solution. If we smell this 1% ammonia solution, so a solution known as 1% ammonia solution, if we smell this ammonia solution, this ammonia solution will enter into this nose or nostrils. What happens? This ammonia will neutralize the HCl and by forming into ammonium chloride. Okay, by forming into ammonium chloride, so that this HCl, it is converted into ammonium chloride. It is a salt. It is not acid. So this HCl is converted HCl. This HCl gas is converted to ammonium chloride. That means it is neutralized by ammonia solution, so that it does not cause any harmful effect inside the person. Okay. So the sixth point is, if by any mistake, if by any mistake someone else, someone inhaled the HCl gas, okay, so make that person, make him smell, okay, make him smell what? 1% ammonia solution. Okay, make him smell 1% ammonia solution. So what happens? So this will neutralize this ammonia solution. This ammonia solution will neutralize HCl, and finally this HCl is converted into ammonium chloride, which is a salt. Know that HCl, it does not show its acidic nature, because this HCl, it is utilized in the process of reaction with ammonia, and finally it is converted to ammonium chloride. So now there won't be any acid inside the body, inside the nose or else inside the lungs, so that it cannot show harmful effect. So these are some of the precautions to be taken in the laboratory method of preparation of HCl gas. Okay. Now we will learn the properties of HCl gas. Okay, properties of HCl gas. properties of HCl gas. So under the properties, these properties can be classified into two types. One is called as physical properties, and another one is called as chemical properties. Chemical properties of HCl gas. Okay. So one is physical properties and another one is chemical properties. So first of all, we learn about the physical properties. Physical properties of HCl gas. Hydrogen chloride gas. See, under physical properties, we will learn the color. First, we will learn the color. See, in this HCl gas under dry conditions, dry HCl gas, it is colorless. It is a colorless gas. But most HCl gas, under dry conditions, it is colorless. But HCl gas in the moist air, okay, what happens when it is present in the moist air? It fumes. It fumes strongly. That means here what happened? Suppose this is the moist air. So in the air there is a moisture. What is the meaning of moist air? Moist air means in the air there is a moisture. So what happens, as HCl gas is highly soluble in moisture, what happens here and there the moisture is present. So in that moisture, so this HCl gas will dissolve. So it forms. So now this air, it is having droplets. That air is having droplets of HCl, so hydrochloric acid. So that means very tiny droplets of hydrochloric acid is formed. So here it is white. They appear white. So that's why this entire thing, it appears to be white fumes. Okay. What is the meaning of fuming? Fuming means here appearance of tiny droplets of HCl, okay, in the air due to the presence of tiny droplets of HCl. Because why this HCl is forming droplets? Because in the moisture, inside the moisture, HCl gas is dissolved. Now this moisture has become hydrochloric acid. Okay, that means the HCl gas has turned into HCl acid or hydrochloric acid. Okay, hence what happens? So before that it was a clear air. Okay, though it is moist air, it was somewhat clear. But when this is dissolved in this moist air, what happens? This moist air will become white. It will become white. It will become opaque. Sorry, not opaque. It will become translucent. That means it will become white in color. That portion will become white in color, and it forms fumes. Fumes means poga. Okay. So like this, the color of moist HCl gas in moist air, it forms a white color fumes, because it fumes strongly. In the moist air. Okay, so that means it develops a white color. Okay, right. So this is about the color of the color is one of the physical property. Okay, right. And the next point is taste. What is the taste of HCl gas? Generally, HCl gas is acidic. Acid is acidic. So what is the taste of acids? Acids are acids are sour to taste and bases are bitter to taste. See, as it is a acidic gas, so what happens? It tastes so, okay, it has HCl gas has has sour taste. Okay, పుల్లగా ఉంటుంది. Sour taste means పుల్లగా ఉండడం, పులుపు. Okay, like this. Generally, acids are sour to taste. Okay. Next one, odor. Odor. Odor means smell. What is it? How it smells? See, actually, this HCl gas, it is a pungent smelling gas. It is pungent అంటే ఘాటైన వాసన, pungent and very irritating and very irritating smell. చికాకు ఉంటుంది, very irritating smell, pungent and very irritating smell. Okay, so this will give burning sensation. Burning sensation, it provides burning sensation. Okay, in the nasal passage, in the nasal passage. What is the meaning of nasal passage? That means inside the nose. So it causes burning sensation. That means we feel pain. Acid, whenever acid falls into on the skin, what happens? It causes burning sensation and we feel pain, lot of pain. So that means if you inhale or else if you breathe in this HCl gas, so what do you feel? So you feel pungent and very irritating smell, and you will get a burning sensation in the nasal passage. Okay, that means inside the nose, the passage starting from the nose to the lungs. Okay, right. So that is where there will feel burning sensation. Okay, next one. See, this HCl gas, it can be liquefied. The gas can be liquefied, but under certain conditions. This gas can be liquefied, not into solution. Liquid HCl is different from HCl solution. So HCl gas, okay, it can be converted into HCl solution. When HCl gas is converted to HCl solution, when dissolved in water, it converts into HCl solution. But this HCl gas can be liquefied, can be converted into liquid HCl. So this is different from this one. This is different. HCl solution is different from liquid HCl. So how can we convert this HCl gas into liquid HCl? So this process is said to be liquefaction. But this process is said to be what? Dissolution. So how can we liquefy HCl gas into liquid HCl? So this can be done under very high pressure, around 40 atmosphere pressure. Okay, and very low temperatures. So high pressures and low temperatures will make a gas to liquefy. Okay, so what are the favorable conditions for liquefaction of any gas? Very high pressures and low temperatures. So how much high pressure we have to use for the liquefaction of HCl gas into liquid HCl? Okay, it liquefies. This HCl gas can be liquefied under very high pressure, very high pressure. So 40 atmosphere pressure is a high pressure. Okay, and also low temperatures and low Low temperatures. Low temperatures means around 10 degrees centigrade. Not very much low, but it is under low temperature and high pressures. Okay, so or else even high pressures. Sometimes we may use 300, 200 atmosphere pressure in different cases. But here in this case, we use only 40 atmosphere, up to 40 atmosphere pressure. That means high pressures and low temperatures. So under these conditions, the HCl gas can be converted into liquid HCl. Okay, HCl gas can be liquefied under pressure of 40 atmosphere and at a low temperature of 10 degrees centigrade. Okay, next if you see the boiling point of HCl, see this liquid HCl, now it has become liquid HCl by under these conditions. Now this liquid HCl, if you want to boil this liquid HCl, so its boiling point is equal to, it is that means at minus 85 degrees centigrade. At minus 85 degrees centigrade, this liquid HCl, this liquid HCl will boil. That means the liquid hydrogen fluoride boils at what temperature? At the temperature of minus 85 degrees centigrade. Minus low temperature, very low temperature. Okay, got it. And even at very low temperatures, it will convert into solid HCl also. It will convert into solid HCl also. Okay, so here this solid HCl, it can melt. This solid HCl, it can melt at minus 115 degrees centigrade. So this is the melting point of solid HCl. That means above 115 degrees centigrade, this HCl, it exists as liquid. Below 115 degrees centigrade, this HCl exists as solid. Remember that. So HCl exists as solid. It exists as solid below 115 degrees centigrade. Okay, and at 150 degrees centigrade, this solid will melt, and above this temperature, the HCl will be available in liquid form. And above minus 185 degrees centigrade, that HCl will form in the it appears in the form of gas. Okay, so that means under normal pressure. What is the normal pressure? Normal pressure is 1 atmosphere pressure. 1 atmosphere pressure is said to be normal pressure. Under normal pressure, this solid HCl, okay, it will exist at below minus 115 degrees centigrade, and above minus 115 degrees centigrade, what happens? This solid HCl will convert into liquid HCl. Okay, and this liquid HCl, okay, its boiling point is minus 85 degrees centigrade under normal pressure. That means normal pressure means 1 atmosphere. Okay, so like this, the physical states, their boiling points and the melting points of this HCl can be. And one more thing, the physiological nature. If you see the physiological nature, physiological means what effects does it cause inside the body. So if HCl gas enters inside the body, inside the human body or else any organism, what does it do? So that property is said to be physiological nature. Physiological nature means, suppose if this gas enters into the body, then what effects it does inside the body. So that is called as physiological nature. See, actually this HCl, HCl is a non-poisonous gas. It is a non-poisonous gas. HCl is a non-poisonous gas. Okay, but it is acidic in nature. Okay, it is a non-poisonous gas, but it is acidic in nature. Because of its acidic nature, it will damage the inner lining. Okay, inner lining of the walls of the nose and the windpipe. Suppose this is the nose. Okay, this is the nose. And the inner lining, inside the nose, there is mucous membrane. There is a membrane known as mucous membrane. Mucous membrane, it is very useful. Mucous membrane is very useful for the absorption of the gases. So this mucous membrane is damaged. So mucus inside the nose and inside the windpipe. So these nose are connected to windpipe inside this. So nose is connected to windpipe, and this windpipe, it is connected to lungs. So inside this one, what happened? There is a mucous membrane layer lining. Inside this, there is a lining of mucous membrane, a material known as mucous membrane. So what happened? This HCl gas will damage this mucous membrane. If mucous membrane is damaged, what happens? It leads to several respiratory diseases. So that sort of effect it can show because of its acidic in nature. It will damage the inner lining of the walls of the nose and the windpipe. Okay. So like this, the physiological nature of HCl can be explained. Next property is solubility. So we will discuss about the solubility property in the next video.